Chapter 24 Enveloped and Sealed. The glorious morning dawned. I was thankful to be alive, but still very weak. Abhigyan was right there as promised. He was apparently omnipresent, looking into every detail personally. I got cleaned up and properly shifted to the best private room in the wards, reserved for residents. The well-lit, clean room was a welcome change, privacy as a bonus. I felt great. It being the peak time of the morning, consultants, seniors, and staff all made their regular rounds to visit and inquire after my condition. It felt good to be loved and cared for. I hadn't imagined as many people to be concerned with me. I always had it in the back of my mind that I was after all an outsider, but now had no qualms left. I belonged here and these people belonged to me. I was pleasantly shocked when one of my patients came to wish me well. I realized another fact then. My life wasn't my own anymore. I owed it to this world around me to live not for myself but for them. Abhigyan didn't leave me even for a minute. At that moment, we heard noise outside. There was some commotion. It wasn't violent, but more of chatting and laughing of a crowd. It became louder, and before we could decipher anything, the door of my room was banged open. A big crowd bulldozed itself inside. I was wide-eyed in surprise. It was nearly the whole batch of interns armed with bouquets and cards, smiling, laughing and chatting in good cheer. They shouted in unison, "Get well soon, dear Manav sir," followed by giggling of girls as they all surrounded my bed from all sides. I was dumbstruck. There was incessant chatter with questions, answers, statements and instructions from all sides. What could I do then to politely accept their wishes, flowers, cards, and thank them all? Kyra was there as well, but she made no attempt to come forward. Our eyes met momentarily. She was all smiles. I saw her placing a snack box on the side table. They all found themselves spaces to stand, lean, and sit. Chitra had taken the lead. "Manav sir, you have to stop being workaholic now." Another voice agreed. "Absolutely, sir. You got us all so worried." One other intervened. "We look upon you for strength and support, sir. You should not disappoint us like this." "He means you shouldn't be careless with your health, sir," one more added. I was flabbergasted. Suddenly, to my rescue, somebody screamed, "One at a time, please." All heads turned towards the source of the voice. There was complete silence. Everyone, including me and Abhigyan, gaped. There, standing at the door, were Vivek sir with Piyush sir and a couple more seniors. In front of them was a medication trolley that they had wheeled in. It had atop it a beautiful Black Forest cake with paper plates, spoons, napkins, knife, etc. Then entered a beaming sister in charge of our surgical ward, followed by a big bunch of nursing staff of surgery. Even the OT staff was there, all clad in their OT dresses. The room got jam-packed. There was an uneasy silence, interrupted only by a few chuckles from the girls. Vivek sir walked up and stood at a place where all could see him. In a stance of a leader about to deliver a speech, he started, "Friends, comrades, countrymen." Everyone laughed. He continued, "We have all gathered here to celebrate the good health of our brave soldier Dr. Manav Pandit and wish him a speedy recovery. Piyush wants it all the more sooner as his department work is suffering." Again it fetched a bout of laughter from the audience. "But I want to add another reason and a bigger one for us to celebrate and congratulate him for." There were hushed murmurs and whispers. "I won't leave you in suspense. Still, any guesses?" he asked. Again there were murmurs and whispers. He continued after waiting for just a couple of seconds. "Even I can't wait any longer," he laughed. Restlessness increased. I was as puzzled as ever. I looked at Abhigyan. He shrugged, suggesting he had no clue either. Vivek sir divulged finally. Friends, unfortunately for the girls present here, except one, our Manav Pandit is no longer single. There was a universal awe and a oh no of disappointment from the girls. He went on. Yes, that's the hardcore truth. However empathetic I may be with you girls, that's a fact now. There was an uproarious, who's the one, sir, from the crowd. Vivek sir smiled naughtily. I was totally tongue-tied. I couldn't believe it was all actually happening. People had gathered outside the door too. I tried to look at Kyra. I hoped she wasn't feeling awkward at all this. I couldn't place her in the crowd. Meanwhile, Vivek sir was mercilessly going on. All of us are so worried about our Manav's health. So let's have a permanent caretaker for him for our benefit and the benefit of the patients in the Department of Surgery. And that chosen person is, he voiced loudly. There was a pin-drop silence. Vivek sir located Kyra with his eyes and softly added now, do please come here, Kyra. It took a few seconds for the crowd to imbibe it. Then came a huge applause and happy hoots from them as they all jostled Kyra towards Vivek sir. She came and stood near him shyly. Her blushed face had a contented and beautiful smile on it. My fears were allayed and I relaxed in relief. She didn't mind nor was uncomfortable. Standing there, she looked at me. I shared the ecstasy. The clapping was in no mood of stopping, in the midst of which Vivek sir handed her the knife and urged her to cut the cake. She cut a small piece and walked towards me. That was the sweetest cake that I ever tasted in my life. It took a long while for the tumult to die down. Very little traces of the cake were left now. Vivek sir again came to the rescue. Guys and girls, don't you agree we should leave our favorite couple for a tete-a-tete now? Congratulations, Manav and Kyra, one more time. The clapping resumed and the crowd started dispersing now. Congratulations, Manav sir and Kyra, resounded as they did. I saw Kyra leaving too. I panicked. She didn't have to go. I so wanted to talk to her, but I dared not call out her name. In a few minutes, the room was empty of human presence except me and Abhigyan. We both sighed and looked at each other, unable to digest all that had just happened. Then I saw her entering. Who else but Kyra? I relaxed. A housekeeping staff and our sister Ji in charge followed her in. Kyra instructed the housekeeping person to clean the floor, which was in a mess with flowers, napkins, cake, etc. She discussed the medication schedule that was to be followed for me with Sister Ji. All done with, Sister Ji came to me and grinned naughtily. So you got your happiness award finally, Manav sir. I beamed. She said, congratulations and a very speedy recovery to you. She went out. The room was clean now. Kyra got the box that she had put on the side table. She had got porridge for my breakfast. She handed me the vessel. I relished every morsel. She sat there at my bedside. Abhigyan excused himself and went out. I understood his reasons. I looked at Kyra. I blatantly looked on, beholding every detail. She wore a beautiful rose gold dress. Wow, I deciphered some shades after all. Her delicate fingers trying to restrain her hair fringes, ruthlessly fixing them behind the earlobes. She was so beautiful and she was mine, including her dangling ear jewels. All of her that was still now out of bounds belonged to me. I think you'll be discharged by tomorrow, she started the conversation. I was completely short of words. How are you feeling? She asked. I replied happily. With such a beautiful girl by my side, on top of the world, I winked. She blushed. It's getting very hard to stay in the hospital as a patient, Kyra, I confided my helplessness. I understand, It won't be long now. But you'll still need rest. You can't just rejoin duties. She was worried. Abigail is with me, I'll manage. Don't worry, I said. Oh, yes, why not, of course. Abigail, sir, is there with you and for you. What is the need for anyone else? She was quick to catch me at my folly. She crossed her arms, looked elsewhere, and pretended to sulk. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it in that sense, I exclaimed as I realized what it had implied. She laughed. I was kidding, Baba. You look beautiful, Missy. I spoke my thoughts aloud. I heard you the first time. Color rose up her cheeks. Let me say it as many times as I do. Do not stop me, please. There are so many things I have to say, my thoughts and my feelings. I might even sound stupid and clumsy in the process, but I have to. Please bear with me. And I'll be doing it ever so often, I'm afraid. She looked down. Did I get a chance to thank you, Kyra? If not then, I do so now. Thank you for accepting me, giving me the privilege of sharing your life. Me, when you had innumerable and maybe better options to choose from. I disclosed my innermost feelings. I promise to sincerely live up to your expectations and even rise above if possible. It'll be the worst if I become the cause of your displeasure or sadness ever. I hope you help me with my efforts and correct me if I ever drift astray. She looked at me for a while with a strange expression, then got up suddenly, put the dorsum of her palm on my forehead as if checking my temperature. I think they should not be discharging you as yet. You still seem to be disoriented a little, she said. I was confused. Why else would you say all this? She clarified. Is this love or is it some mathematical calculation that has to be done precisely, consciously, and should fetch a certain result? These are matters of the heart, Sergi. Keep them that way. Head has no business trespassing here. She grinned. I nodded in agreement. I was afraid you would already be in a relationship. I confessed my fears. She laughed. What made you infer that, may I ask? Why, the Dr. Kara Acharya is the most coveted girlfriend in this part of the world of Medical College Raipur at present. Beauty, brains, smartness, personality, all encompassed in one single person, I honestly replied. You embarrass me, she said softly. I was not lying when I told you I wouldn't go with anyone even a single step if not driven by sheer love. I know, Kyra, I know. I was just sharing one of the worst fears that I had. Anyways, I know better now than to broach such topics in future. The thing is, I have this selfish desire to pour into you all that I have been through. My journey towards discovering my Kyra. At that moment, Abhigan entered as usual, subtlety never in his list of assets. He appeared uncomfortable. He stammered, I am sorry if I interrupted. I had to discuss the duty roster with you, Manav. I'll come later if you want me to. Both me and Kyra said in unison. No, I asked him to make himself comfortable. Abhigyan, listen to this loud and clear, I added. What you and I share is permanent. If I am in a romantic relationship, doesn't mean it changes anything between us. Never forget that. He beamed. We chatted for hours together about random things including me, my family, Kyra's family, etc. Kyra told us about Dr. Raj Acharya, her brother, and her bond with him, her biggest confidante. How he played a pivotal role in her life and successes. Kyra asked to take her leave a couple of hours later. However much I wanted her to stay, I had to relent. She went away leaving me with Abhigyan. We continued our discussion about the department, the duty roster, stipend issues, etc. I had a long telephonic conversation with my mum and dad in the evening. Mum offered to come, but I strictly prohibited her. For one, I had no place comfortable enough for her to stay than my tiny room. Plus, I had planned to rejoin duties from the next day of my discharge, which meant most of the time I would be in the department. I didn't want her to exert unnecessarily. I was officially discharged the next morning. Abhigyan came with me to my room. He had got it all cleaned and organized by our mess boy. I ate and rested most of the day. Kyra called to ask after my health. I reassured her I was fine. I had to be absolutely fine as soon as possible. I remembered how I had felt the last day that I was in this very room. Fever and URI were crushing me, and I had absolutely no will to get well. But now was a complete contrast. I was doing everything I could to get perfectly well as fast as I possibly could. That was again the power of love, of belonging, of being cared for. The morn that dawned was not just for a new day, it was a new dawn in my life as well. A life that had started for Manav and Kairat together. It was a novel feeling altogether, entering and working in the department now. The attitude of colleagues and staff was also changed for the better. I felt a wee bit weak, but my adrenergic drive kept me on toes all the while. I was fed up of lying in bed and was enjoying toiling. Next day was a Sunday. Me, Abhigyan, Kyra, and Chitra went for the movies late that afternoon. It was a small celebration of our newly formed close group. Post that, Abhigyan went to drop Chitra home. Me and Kyra carried on with an official candlelight dinner date. The feel of those moments is still etched crystal clear in my mind. The quiet and romantic ambience of the five-star restaurant. Kenny G playing ever so softly and she facing me. It was magical. The conversation was more personal and romantic now. I narrated in detail the first encounter that I had with her eyes, her dark mark at the left lateral canthus, and the rapport between me and her ear jewels. How I suffered in the quest of search of that girl, how I finally found her. She listened to each word in daze, blushed all the time, tearful in the end. Tears of intense emotion. My hand was on the table. She placed hers gently on mine, encircling it, comforting and reassuring her presence, here as well as in my life, forever. I held hers in a firm grip. Her hand sort of melted, soft as it was, engulfed in mine. That moment we were one. When I asked for the bill to be paid, I was told it was already paid. I was shocked. They answered, pointing towards one side, that there was a gentleman who had taken a fancy at us as an adorable couple and settled our bill, requesting to be kept anonymous. Kyra found it a very sweet gesture on our unknown admirer's part, but I wasn't ready to take it. The chivalry of a boyfriend cannot allow this. I paid the due and asked the manager to thank the benefactor on our behalf. Days again started moving at fast pace, our bond getting stronger. I realized, though love in the basics is only about the heart, yet we have to work upon sustaining and nurturing it with our heads. Our thoughts, words, and deeds should be driven carefully, working towards this one single goal. When to hold on, when to let go, what to hold on to, what to let go, were decisions we need to take ever so frequently, and margin of error is negligible. Our head knows the correct answer to each and every question or doubt that might ever come in our minds, if and only if we have complete faith and surrender in our love. I am not boastful by nature, but did realize one more thing. We were both as sensible as could be. Time passed. We and our love grew, bloomed, and flourished. We were seeing less of each other now that Kyra had her PG entrance exams coming up. The status quo was maintained and there was an apparent standstill. Meanwhile, at Abhigyan's insistence, we decided to meet Dr. Raj Acharya sir formally. Vivek sir had casually mentioned it to Abhigyan that I should meet Raj sir once, as he had already told him about me and Kyra. I called him up and fixed an appointment. Me and Abhigyan, met him at the proposed time at his diagnostic center. It was a casual, comfortable, and a rather pleasant meeting. He was neither haughty nor impolite. He told in the end that he trusted us in all our decisions, we being mature adults, and would be there when and however we needed him. Later, at a common function, Raj sir even introduced me to Kyra's parents. Just casual pleasantries. I hoped they approved of me. The 1 month after her exams were the best by far. She was free and used to pay me frequent visits in my department. Our excursions in the form of drives, movies, and dining out also came more in the routine now. So far, so good. However, I had a slight hitch somewhere inside of me. Having tasted a no, a clear rejection once, I was in no mood of dwelling on uncertainty now. The onus was unto me to go further and make things concrete. I did not want to leave any chance of Kyra getting second thoughts about her decision. Kyra fared well in her exams and was very likely to get her chosen subject for PG, that is OBGYN, though may not be an MD but a diploma. We were okay with it. The silver lining was that we would both complete our PGs simultaneously. Nearly 6 months had gone by and my world had metamorphosed. Time was nearing for me to make a visit homeward. Holi, the festival of colors, was round the corner. Till now, I hadn't made any hint of Kyra or my relationship at home. I wanted to tell and discuss everything in person. I respected my parents and their decision would make a whole lot of difference to me. Mom would be easy to convince, but I couldn't say anything about my dad. That's why I had to do it face to face. My dad owned a medical agency, being the biggest hospital supplier of medicines and healthcare products in our city and the nearby areas. Dad was strong-willed and a self-made man, having seen hardships from close quarters. He wasn't much communicative nor very expressive, and that was my greatest challenge. Mom was a matchless housewife, managing the whole household with effortless perfection. The prospect of a professional daughter-in-law might shock and disturb them. Despite all this, I was very positive because it was no ordinary girl. It was Kyra that I was about to ask them about. The only certain thing was I could not do anything to cause them displeasure or disappointment. It was Kyra's birthday the next day. I went shopping for her gift. I got a beautiful and intricate brooch for her and got it gift wrapped. Next morning we met over breakfast. She was overjoyed at the gift to my relief. I had added chocolates and roses as accessories to my gift box. Her happiness was complete. We met over dinner that night. I sat waiting at the table in our favorite restaurant. I saw her walking towards me, a shy smile playing on her face. She looked dazzling. Her smile, the last one in such full radiance, that I remembered for a long time. Her hair for once were left loose over her shoulders. She wore a rich blue chiffon sari. The brooch shined like a star on her. I stood up, walked to her chair and pulled it out for her to sit. The ear jewels dangled vigorously in the process. The same floral fragrance permeated the vicinity. I was awestruck. It took me a while before I could say anything. That was my queen. I wanted it to be official now. It was my only desire then, more than anything else in the world. I told her about my plans. If all went as expected, we might even tie the knot soon. I was leaving for home the next day. She looked at me with misty eyes. I told her I'd give her a call if all got settled that night. She was unusually sad about my going away. I assured her it was just a matter of 2 days. They would pass in a snap. But whatever I said, she was not to be relaxed. She was strong but very sensitive, my Kyra. Or was it some premonition? I knew not. We walked hand in hand in the garden after dinner, 5 of us. Me, Kyra, her fluttering pallu, her ear jewels, and her lovely floral perfume. Neither wanted the moments to end. She was saying something which I couldn't decipher. I was in another world. I stopped. She got pulled to me reflexly. I pulled her closer to face me. Her tearful eyes locked in mine. They held heaps of pain. My words hadn't comforted her. Her hair dancing in waves were holding the ear jewels captive. I restrained them and placed them behind her earlobe. My lips reached and brushed her ear jewels where they became one with her delicate earlobes, ever so gently, as if imploring them to lessen her grief. She tried to bend her head in an attempt to hide her tears from me. I wouldn't let her. I combed my fingers into her soft hair, holding her head steady lest she looked away. I wanted her to read my mind through my eyes as she always did. Read and understand how deep was my love for her. The tears threatened to fall any moment now. She fidgeted, trying to remove herself. My hand instinctively went up to the small of her back, fixing her to me. She stopped moving. She was sailing deep into my eyes. I hoped she understood what was in them. My lips resumed their journey. They moved and caressed the coveted dark mark at the lateral canthus, moving to both her eyes, tasting the salty teardrops in the process. Her lips trembled. My gaze drifted towards them. I bent down, reaching them with mine. I had to secure them. She gasped as they touched, harsh and parched ones meeting those soft, very soft, throbbing pair of rose petals, conquering them, making them mine. Her arms went up behind my neck like a garland, holding me close. She stood on tiptoe. We kissed. The ecstasy taking us beyond the finite boundaries of this world into the cosmic realms. Nothing else existed, no worries, no sadness, no doubts, nothing but pure bliss. I left early morning the next day. The train shoved away slowly, leaving the station and my Kyra behind. I followed her sad eyes for as long as I could, till she left my range of vision completely. I would set things right. This will be the last bit of unhappiness for her, I promised myself. Sudden noise made Manav stop. Dr. Dinesh was standing at the door looking anxious. Manav, Yuvan and Ridhima all looked at him. He spoke loudly. Manav, you were expected in the OT 1 hour ago. We got worried. After calling everywhere, we traced you here. All well? No one spoke for a long time. Manav, Ridhima and Yuvan trying to change zones and return to the present, and Dr. Dinesh trying to decipher the seriousness of this grave atmosphere in that room. Manav was the first to take control. He said, easing the tension, All well, buddy. We were just talking. You please carry on. I'll join you in a moment. I hope you're satisfied with the PAC of the patient? Dr. Dinesh affirmed, Absolutely. The patient will have been wheeled in as we speak. I'll wait for you. Then to Ridhima he turned. Get well soon, doc, and left. Manav spoke when he was gone. I am sorry I got carried away. The point is again, as I said earlier, you can't fill a glass that is already full up to the brim. It will only spill. By now I guess the air has been fairly cleared. I wish both of you success and happiness in your lives, hopefully together. I am awaited at the OT and I need to rush. Bye for now. Manav left. Both Ridhima and Yuvan continued to be silent. Ridhima said after a few minutes, Yuvan, please take me home. Yuvan resisted. But you are not well enough too, Ridhima. I'll be fine. I have to go. Get the cab, please, while I pack up. Yuvan sighed. He went out asking the nursing staff at the counter to get the discharge papers ready and organize the cab. They sat at the dinner table a week later. Ridhima had commenced duties as before. Nothing was apparently amiss at the department and life settled in its routine. Neither Ridhima nor Yuvan sensed any difference in Manav's demeanor or his behavior with them. It was as if nothing at all had happened in past few days. But that wasn't the case with them, Ridhima and Yuvan, that is. They were both shaken by Manav's narrative. Instead of appeasing their curiosity, it had ignited it fiercely. Such intense relationship, such deep feelings were rare. Manav and Kyra were inseparable. Then what had happened? They knew Manav well enough by now to understand he wasn't a person to give in to petty fights or misunderstandings so as to sever the relationship itself. It was unmistakable. It showed in his whole being when he spoke about Kyra. On the other hand, Kyra, according to Manav's account, appeared even more sensible and headstrong. Ridhima thought aloud. It had to be something very gross to have caused them to separate. Manav sir himself clearly stated that he was married. It is beyond doubt that he must have been married to Kyra. Or was it someone else? That just couldn't be possible. Why else would he have told us about Kyra in the first place then? Or, a possibility they both dreaded to think about, a possibility sprung out of rumors, was Kyra actually dead? It was all getting jumbled up and entangled tighter still. The more they tried to analyze, the more confused they became. It was dreadful, it was torture. They decided finally they would go insane if they did not uncover the truth, the whole truth. There was no link or source in Chandigarh that would help them. Yuvan tried extracting information from his brother Rian, but all in vain. He wasn't in the know. They even contemplated asking Manav, but couldn't muster enough courage. It would appear gossip mongering, and they definitely didn't want Manav to think that about them. Yuvan suggested after a month-long failed research, Ridhima, I think we should go to Raipur, at least for our peace of mind. There's only one person who can help us, and that's Dr. Abhigyan. Ridhima agreed instantly. The only hitch here was, what if Abhigyan wasn't in Raipur then? Yuvan said, Kaira's family and Dr. Raj Acharya were definitely in Raipur. At the worst, we can directly ask them as a last-ditch effort. It was thus decided. Ridhima and Yuvan started planning their duties in a way so as to get a week's time out.